Howdy, howdy, this is Mr. Potter. Vyyyper, one of the great new YouTubers that's come out in the past 6 months, has put out a challenge and wants to know what my top three Apple products are. And rather than having the newest in tech, I want to talk a little bit about some older tech because that's really the stuff that stuck in my mind. So, in descending order, number three has got to be the first generation iPod Nano. I originally purchased this, one for me, one for my wife, back in 2005. And in the summer of 2005, we purchased it, and I ended up getting mine and getting hers about a week, well, during the same week that my son was born. And so I remember that time in the hospital when my wife was asleep. I would listen to podcasts, I'd listen to songs, trying not to disturb her. That's probably the biggest thing that I have. This is actually my wife's. The iPod Nanos all came in either white or black, but you could get these little colored sleeves. This is a pink sleeve here. Mine was blue. I don't have my iPod Nano anymore for a reason that I'll actually explain a little bit later. But that's probably number three, the iPod Nano first edition. The number two on my list has got to be the iPhone 6. I originally got the iPhone 4 when it first came out, and that was my first smartphone. But the issue I had with the original iOS that came on the iPhone 4 is that you could only run one program at a time. And that was kind of a real hindrance. But the iPhone 6, you could do a lot more with it. I remember the iPhone 6 very well because when I went to Washington, D.C. in 2012, this was the phone that we got. We got a brand new phone to take to Washington to have a lot of fun. And so this is really, I used this phone for the past 5 years, and we recently upgraded to Android phones, but it's not really much of an upgrade. My wife and I are rather frustrated with them. We wish we could go back to the iPhone 6. The battery life on these just aren't that good after 5+ years, though. So I mainly use this for VR stuff. That's my number two choice, the iPhone 6. Number one has actually got to be the iPod Nano 6th edition, which I still use as a watch. An interesting story on how I acquired this. As I mentioned, I was one of the early adopters for the iPod Nano first edition when it came out. And after I'd used it for a while, I actually upgraded to the iPod Touch, the first generation when it came out, and I was using it quite extensively. And my iPod Nano, the battery life wasn't that great. It just went into a drawer. It had a lot of memories, but I didn't want to get rid of it, but I wasn't really using it. And then I got an email from Apple saying that it had been recalled. Not my wife's, just mine. Apparently the black one had an issue with the coating on the screen, susceptible to a lot of scratches, and they were also worried about the battery exploding, and I didn't want an exploding battery, so I sent it back, and they sent me the iPod Nano 6th edition. Now I've actually purchased a couple of these Hex wristbands to go with it, and I love this. I actually use this as a daily watch. And what's great about this is that, I've been using this as a watch since probably 2014. And people look at it and they think, oh, well, what is that? Well, it's an iPod. Is that the iPhone watch? No, it's an iPod. But it does everything. If it had Bluetooth, it would probably be perfect. But as it is, it serves its function quite nicely. And so those are probably my three favorite Apple products. I was a late comer on to the Apple hardware. Although I'd used the Apple II computers when I was a kid in school, I didn't really actually purchase any Apple products until 2005. That's about when I got into their nice walled garden. And the Apple products are great. I enjoy them. I still use them to this day. So Vyyyper, those are my top three Apple products. Thanks for the challenge. Hope to see you online. Once again, this is Mr. Potter. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.